Okay, so we've got this slip here and it's pretty thick. We're kind of looking for like sour cream consistency. When I pick it up, it's not really falling off. You don't want it too wet. It needs to pick up the dry underglaze pigment and attach itself to the slip, which then attaches it to the clay. Here, I'm going to go ahead and add a layer so we can get this drying, because we do need it to be a little bit more dry before we apply it. We don't want it to be soaking wet. So I'm just trying to apply like an even coat across this one sheet right here. And I'm just going to give it 30 seconds or so. It just depends if there's a lot of moisture in the air or if there's airflow going on. But I'm kind of looking for like leather hard is kind of what I call it. You know, leather hard clay. It's still workable. It's still wet, but it may not be like you could still work on it. I want my mug to be wet enough to still put a handle on it, and wet enough that there's still moisture in there, but dry enough that if I pick it up, the mug isn't going to collapse or the rim isn't going to work or anything. So this is just watching paint dry for a second. Okay, that is getting almost ready. So I'm going to go ahead and prep this next one. The most important thing to take away from this workshop today is timing is everything. So if I were to let this dry all the way, that slip is going to dry and get cracky, and then you're going to have to throw your sheet away. Monoprinting means one, mono meaning one. So you can only use this one time. I just throw the paper away when I'm done with it. If we had a recycling plant here in town, that's where I would take it to, but unfortunately we don't. So, okay, that's getting ready. Okay, so I don't know if you can really tell on the screen there, but the shine is a little more dull on this, and it's a lot shinier on this one. I don't know if that'll do anything trying to change the light, but
I think I can see a difference.
a little bit of a difference. So this is kind of what we're going for. It's still shiny, but it's not soaking wet. I mean, we've been sitting here for a minute and some, and it looks pretty good. So if you have it too wet, it's gonna muddy up all of those drawings that we just did, all of those paintings. So we don't want it to be too wet. And then also it's just not going to transfer as crisply if it's too wet. So we want to wait for what I call leather hard. All right, so I kind of just pick it up by the corners here. And then I'm going to establish it on the rim in the center. Okay, then I'm going to kind of pick it up and go down the center and then just fan it out on the sides. So now that whole sheet is flat. But when I get these wrinkles, I kind of encourage those wrinkles. I'm not trying to hide those or make it super, super flat, because for me, I'm trying to add all of that extra texture and layers and something for the underglaze wash to pick up. And I'll talk more about that underglaze wash in just a bit, but those layers are what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to make this piece look like it's almost vintage and worn and aged. So I've got this rubber rib here. It's one of my favorite tools. And I just take my rubber rib and go across the surface, getting the air bubbles out, making sure that I am transferring all of slip onto the mug. All right, I don't need to do it too long. And then I'm just going to start up here on the edge. And when I peel off, I'm not going to peel the whole thing off, because if there's any part on there that didn't transfer all the way and I don't really like the way it looks, I can place the paper back on and it's going to go right back where it was. So I'm just slowly checking. So if I need to put it back on, I can.